So we got fuel light, check engine light. Also have the light. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rebuild It. This week we're still working on Paul's truck, so let's see what kind of horrors this thing can dish out on us this week. So some of those warning lights are easy to take care of, like one of them showed low DEF fluid, so I filled that up. One of them was low windshield washer fluid, I filled that up. I'm checking for leaks. Low coolant, I put 4 gallons in there earlier just in the tank, but we need to get this reservoir filled up, and to do that the best way is to run a vacuum on the system and suck it in through here with this cool tool. Basically it sucks a vacuum out of the whole system, and then we hook our air compressor to this and then run this tube into our jug of antifreeze, and then when we open the vacuum, it sucks the fluid down in through the system and pushes it all the way through. So that's what we'll do here and get that light off and then see what else we got. Okay, so I've got this connected to my air compressor, and we're gonna open up the air compressor valve here in a minute. And what we want is needle to go up to between 24 and 26 pounds of vacuum. So we'll let it run until it does that, and then we'll shut it off and let it sit for 20 or 30 seconds, and it's supposed to hold that vacuum. And if it moves, that means we've got a leak somewhere, so we do not want that. Okay, so we reached our 25 pounds, and I'm just going to let it sit here for 30 seconds, and hopefully that needle does not move. Okay, so it's been our 30 seconds and our gauge is still good. I've got this hose connected to my antifreeze, and I put it in this clear jug so I could see it because we don't want it to run dry. And I've got it all the way in the bottom. So now we're going to open those up, and it should start sucking the antifreeze down. Okay, it's almost down there, so I'm going to shut it off. Okay, so now I've got my bottle of water on here, so I'm going to open it up again, and the system says it's full when it reaches 0 pounds, so it's still way up high, so it should suck all this out. Okay, so it sucked down about 3 more gallons. And so now I'm going to take this out, and we'll put our cap back on, and we'll start it up, let it run, see how many lights we've got back off. We should have no low coolant light, no DEF light, and no windshield washer fluid light. One more thing I just about forgot. Before I started, I want to go ahead and get our PAG oil in there and get that connected so it closes that loop. Alright, so I've got all that connected, and everything in the engine bay in here I think is where it needs to be. I didn't video this, but I hooked my scanner up to the truck, and I've still got all the codes. I mean, it's like a Christmas tree on that dashboard. So I'd say it's something, could be something that is unhooked from the frame swap that didn't get plugged back in, or it's something, there's just too many lights for it to be all that stuff actually wrong. So when I get it to the next stage and get it to the guy that does the alignment for me, I'll have him hook it to he's got a higher level computer that he can check all that stuff on. So we'll see what he says. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and put the grill support on so I can get this wiring harness wrapped around there and get the new latch on and all that real quick, and then we'll jump into the interior. right, so I've got everything in with the grill support. Got the hood adjusted down to where it latches and shuts. New latch on there. All the wires are hooked up. There's our new outside air temperature sensor. So everything's good up here. Now I'm going to jump into the interior and finish these. It's a little bit of trim. Like I got to put this panel on underneath the steering wheel, and then all this trim along the seats, and finish bolting the seats in, and run the seat belts down through there and on. So we'll get all that done. All right, so everything on the dash is back together. All the seats, trim, everything is back the way it's supposed to be. I checked windows and locks and mirrors and all that. Everything works. So the only thing I got left on the interior is to get the back seat in. All right, so that thing is all bolted in. We got my little toolkit mounted there. Now I'm gonna go over these seats really good and clean them. They look in good shape, but they need to be vacuumed, and I'm going to use some leather cleaner on them just to make sure they look nice, clean, and presentable. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I got all the tires here, and they're all on. Had one hubcap that was missing, so I ordered that. But man, those tires make a huge difference, like I said earlier. And the windshield, my windshield guy is supposed to be here tomorrow to get that installed. So then we won't have our mirror hanging down like that. All right, it's the next day, and I think we have a nice cool morning out there. It's not hot at all. So I think what I'm gonna do is jack that bed back up where I've got space underneath there to get the rear bumper reinstalled. Here's our rear bumper. It's been sitting there for weeks and weeks and weeks. You have to jack this thing up enough to be able to get it up underneath there. So, and then once I get all that installed and tighten back down, get all the wiring harness plugged back up and stuff, then I'll get this thing pulled out, and I want to wash. That's all the bugs and stuff from when it was delivered. I mean, like months ago. It's never been washed, this back tailgate. And then I cleaned out the interior or the bed with all the trash, but it's needs to be power washed, get all the crud off of it. And that's the piece that they go put back in. That's when they install the windshield. There's the wipers over there. But for now, let's see what we got to do to get this bumper installed. All right, so I've got the bumper all installed, and the bed is all bolted back down. So everything's plugged up back here. So we should have reverse sensors and stuff now. I'm going to get the spare tire, get it back up under there and hoist it up. And then we'll back this thing out and start doing some cleaning. One more thing I forgot to do before I clean this thing up is change out this headlight. Might as well wash the other one the new one while I'm washing it. So that one's got the big crack in it. So I'm gonna get it out, swap those out. Okay, so I have cleaned this thing up, and the tailgate looks really nice. Also, the bed floor came out really good. All that grease and junk blew it all out. So the back of this truck is done. I got one more thing to do, and that's put the decal on the other side, that 4x4 decal. And also didn't tell you, the windshield guy showed up, installed the windshield, and it is really nice. Got all that back on. Well, treat this with some of that black stuff to make it nice and black, shiny. So now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start doing some stuff underneath here. So the first thing would be that sway bar and sway bar links. It goes across. So we can get that all set up. And then we need to figure out, there is a skid plate, I guess you call it that kind of goes along in the front. Goes from the front, those two bolts sticking out there back. And I went up and looked at my truck, and it's just a plastic piece, but this one had a steel piece there, but it was bent in the wreck. So I'm going to see if I can straighten it enough to use it, and if not, I'll have to order something for that. The rest is going to be figuring out all these little brackets and where everything goes, making sure I've got all the bolts, and I'm missing this little piece right here on the other side, so it should be here today, I think. Okay, so I am not going to be able to put that sway bar on today because I'm missing 2 bolts. I've got 2 of them. I've actually got a third one too, but it's bent. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and order another rubber piece. That one's really chewed up over there, that little grommet thing. So that's easy to get to. I can do that after I do a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to move on to the next thing on the list. I will go ahead and install our A-pillar trim. So we'll get that put in, and once that's on, this interior is complete. Okay, so I backed the truck out a little bit so I can get to this front piece here that we've got to get that plate installed, and this little black bracket thing right there. And then I remembered that we have not charged the AC system yet. So before I put this bumper on and cover a bunch of stuff up, I want to make sure that our AC holds vacuum and all that. All right, so I've got my manifold gauge set hooked up, low pressure and high pressure over there, and I've got the yellow one hooked up to my vacuum pump. So what I'm going to do is turn the vacuum pump on, and they're not real loud, but I'll turn it on, and then I'll open up these gauges, and we'll see the needle start moving towards 0. Okay. So what we're doing is vacuuming out the system, like putting a vacuum into the AC system. So these gauges should start, as this thing runs, going down closer to being pegged out towards 0 or below 0. And I'm going to let this run for 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, we're going to shut it off. We're going to shut these valves off, then shut the pump off, and then let it sit for another 30 minutes. Make sure there's no leaks. All right, so it's been 30 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is check where my dials are. And I'm going to turn these off, close the system, and here's the pump turn down. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm just going to let these sit for 30 minutes, and hopefully the gauges do not move. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes, and my gauges have not moved at all. So what I'm going to do is I run this valve down, it punctures the can, and starts filling up the line with refrigerant. But at first I'm going to start the truck. I'm going to put this thermometer in the vent. That way I can know what temperature I've got. And then I'm going to turn it on AC low, but not recirculate. And then we'll open up these valves. And we got to make sure that this is tight right here, that we don't have any kind of leakage going on. And I weighed this, and it weighs 18 ounces with all that on it. So we'll use this whole can, and then we'll hook the other can onto it, let it run out until it gets down to 3 ounces. And then we should have our 21. Okay, so the AC charge was a fail. I never could get the compressor to kick on. So it took the refrigerant, you know, I could see it going through the sight glass up there, and everything was like really cold down here. And it took the whole first jar and the second, but the compressor never would kick on a cycle, so I have no idea. Somebody that knows more about AC stuff is going to have to look at it. So that's a bummer. So now all I can do is just, I have an inspection Thursday. There's no time to take this somewhere to have that looked at. So I'm just going to have to keep on going and get the front back together. So before I put this bumper on, I went up and looked at my truck and remembered that the headlights actually go, the bottom of them, the bracket that goes here is actually below that bumper. So I need to put the headlights on first. And there's 4 or 5 screws that go on each headlight. And I've got 2 that go over here, and I'm going to go out and look on that old grill support and see if there's still screws in these holes, which I bet you there are from the smash one. Matter of fact, it's right out here. Let's look. Yep. See that? There's still brackets with the screws in them. That's why you never throw anything away. Hopefully we'll have all the screws we need. And these headlights are super nice. I got them on eBay. They're OEM headlights, but some guy bought a truck and wanted blacked out headlights or something, and so he took these off. They just got a few miles on them and replaced them with aftermarket ones. So good for us because we got the nice new GM ones. Okay, let's test them and see if they work. All right, there's the lows, there's the highs, blinkers. All right, so I finally got my parts in for this sway bar. So there's my new rubber, big thick rubber grommet. There's the one that came out. It's almost like it's burnt or something. Anyway, that's replaced, and I got the bolts in to put it in, and then there's the little sway bar links. So I'm gonna get all that installed, and once I get those installed, I'm gonna take this thing out and drive it up and down the road a little bit, just the back road, to see if sometimes some of those warning lights, like stable track, some of the stuff having to do with traction control and all that, sometimes those lights go off after you drive them a little bit. So I want to see how this thing feels and all that when it's actually driving around. So all right, so I've got all this stuff on. There's our sway bar, and there's our new skid plate. Goes on, and it all went on easily. Really, the next step, I'm gonna go drive it, like I said, and then the next step when we come back is the bumper, and hopefully everything lines up. I actually changed my mind before I opened the door and let in the blast furnace from outside. I want to go ahead and before I get this thing dusty, if I get it dusty on the road, I want to go ahead and put my chrome trim on that goes along the doors on both sides. All right, so I've got the chrome on both sides, and now I'm going to go drive this thing. Okay, I just got back from driving the truck, and man, it's hot out there. But it drove well, shifted normal, everything drove just like my truck. I did not lose any of the lights up there, so it still got the traction control light on and this weird light right over here that I still have not figured out what it is. I still need to research it. Of course, it has no AC, which I didn't try to turn it on, but that's one of the things it's going to go to the shop for. So all I got left is bumper and grill, so that'll be the next thing you see here. All right, I had to get Mr. Muscles over here, pure ab muscles, to help lift this bumper up, and I forgot to turn the camera on. So we've got some tape on our fenders here, where these things, usually when you try to get them on, you end up scratching this right here. And we did not even come close to that this time, but we've got the bottom bolts in down there, and we're working on trying to get the top ones lined up. So let's keep on pushing and moving until we get it lined up. And then the last thing will be I still have to put the grill together. I still got pieces to put on it, but it's gonna look good, I think. All right, Paul and I finally got everything, all the holes lined up, and there's bolts and everything. So I still have a little bit of adjusting to do to kind of get it. I want to get it to twist this way a little bit before I start working on the grill. But everything's plugged up, so hopefully when I pull it in here in a minute, my front sensors work. All right, so I finally got this bumper exactly where I want it. All the gaps look really nice. The hardest thing on these is the gap right there. The bumper wants to kick this way, and you have to do a lot of work to get it to get exactly straight. And so, like, I went and looked at my truck, and mine bumper is even still cocked a little bit like that. So I obviously didn't work as hard on mine as I did on this one. But anyway, that looks really good. So now we need to get our grill, the old one, and get all the stuff off of it. Like, we need to get this Chevy badge off and that LTZ badge off. I'll heat this up enough to kind of make it flexible a little bit, and then we'll pop this out and get that put on our new one and see what's involved in this one. I've never done one of these before. All right, so the front grill is ready to go in. It's our LTZ and our emblem. Then it should snap in, and then all we've got left is our cover. It goes over the top. I think there's actually 4 screws. Yeah, that go in up here. I wonder if those are still in our old piece. Anyway, we'll put this on. Woo! It fits. And it snapped right in there. I guess I forgot that you have to kind of angle it in the front. I remembered that from last time. That bottom clip has to go kind of angled in first, and then the whole thing just snaps in. But it looks super nice. I just really like all the chrome up on the front. So now, and I've got all our bolts in, found all those. So now our cover is going to go over the top, which means I got to find a bunch of clips for that. So nothing else on this, as far as my part goes, is difficult. Next hurdle is to first get the paperwork passed at the highway patrol, and then it's going to a shop because there are so many. I don't know if it's because it was changed on the frame. You know, the frame was changed, so everything on this thing pretty much was unplugged. So it has got so many codes thrown on it, and I'm hoping that one of those thrown codes might be the reason the AC compressor is not kicking in, and like it's not reading the def tank, and it's saying this has got a power steering issue, several things. But I'm hoping all that has to do with modules. So we'll see the end of this week. Okay, there's our nice looking motor that has got all these codes thrown. But boy, it looks good. I'll be glad when I can get it out in the outside and get it wash all this. They pack these bumpers with like a film on them. It's like a oily type stuff, so your handprints are all over it. But be glad to get that out and get it washed. And we'll see how our hood fits. Oh yeah. All right, so I am down to these parts right here is all I've got left to put on the truck. So I'll get working putting all those on, and this truck will be done, other than the 2 emblems, the 2500 HD and the Duramax emblem that goes right there.
Well, that's the end of this week's video. I guess next time you see this truck, it'll be completely done. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because with the list of codes and errors and everything that this truck is throwing, it might be a while before you see another video. But the next video will be the finale, where we get to hand the truck off to Paul, give him the keys, and let him enjoy the truck that he bought completely by accident. And it's time for our verse of the week, which is Psalm 46:1, that says, "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble." I just hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button down below and the subscribe button, and make sure you turn on the bell to get notifications whenever time we post a video, so you don't miss out on the finale of this truck and what might possibly be a new project coming soon. See you guys next time.
And always remember, don't retire it if you can rebuild it. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.